Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Content and Consequences, where we focus on creators who blur the lines between producer, writer, director, and actor. Featuring live readings of pilot extracts and interviews with successful creatives, this podcast explores the process and aftermath of developing content. Content and Consequences is part of Rogue Matter, a new digital content platform providing programming and entertainment that shatters boundaries and colors outside the lines. Join the movement. Go Rogue. RogueMatter.com. Today, I am joined by my fellow co-host, Victoria Cherie Bennett, and today we have a very special guest from across the pond, as they say, Richard Corgan from Stack. Hi, Richard.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, you're one of my favorite people that I met in 2020, so I'm happy to bring you back for another round.
I don't think we all met very many people in 2020, but I'll still take it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're like the last new real person I met in 2020, back in February, almost a year ago now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Richard, I have a hot take question. Did you know that you have a Wikipedia page?
Nope.
Did you know that the first sentence is highlighted in yellow, which I find very interesting?
I had no idea.
What does it say?
Oh.
It says, Richard Corgan is a Welsh actor. He was born and brought up in some town I can't pronounce in January of 1978. He went to another school I can't pronounce, and then later to a college that I can't pronounce, and then in a university that I can't pronounce, but then the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, which I can pronounce.
Yeah, I went there. Yeah, I did. Yeah. It's where I grew up is a place called Cwmtwrch in the South Wales valleys. And what was the next thing you couldn't say?
Hold on.
My school was Llewellyn.
Yep, that one I couldn't say.
And then I went to Prifysgol Cymru Aberystwyth, which is the University of Wales Aberystwyth. And yeah, I think that was it.
That was it. And it's all highlighted in yellow, which I find very entertaining.
But it means
why is it highlighted?
And I'm not going to take the credit for that. I don't know who did that.
Well, I feel like it used to be that Wikipedia would just be like a random thing people could edit. And now it's like a legit thing. I've tried to make 3 Wikipedia pages for people last year, and the process is excruciating. So the fact that you have one, I feel like it's even more important than your IMDb page. Like you have a Wikipedia.
Well, you know me, and you know for a fact that's nothing that I would have done myself.
I know.
You barely get me on Instagram, but there we are. Yeah.
But we have found him, and he is here.
He's on Wikipedia, which means you've made it.
Wow. Okay. It's probably my mum. But
when in doubt, it's always mom. So, Richard, please tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. So my name is Richard Corgan, and I do everything really.
Basically.
The only thing I don't do is sleep, really, I'd say. I am an actor, first and foremost, and a director. Probably go hand in hand, those two, really. But I also run a studio. It's Stack Studio, and we do lots of different things here. So we do self-tapes for actors, and we do voice reels, and we do show reels, and we do loads of different coaching. And one thing that is so important that nobody ever teaches anywhere is career development and marketing. So looking at an actor's career, looking at how they're marketing themselves, trying to help them identify what it is they're actually selling and how to sell it better. And making sure that when they do get auditions, because auditions, they don't come around as often as we'd all like, but when we do get these auditions, we're making sure that we're going into the room for something we're going to absolutely nail, rather than having to manipulate what we do as an artist to try and fit into something that we're not quite right for. And therefore, even if we get the job, people are seeing us not at our best, and that's what they think we are. So it's really looking at ourselves individually and being very introspective about what it is we're trying to sell. So yeah, that's proven really, really popular.
Yeah, Richard, when I met you, it was so inspiring what you were doing because you're so passionate about it and it comes from such like a deep place. And that's one of the things that I was really drawn to about you. And after learning about all the great things that you do, I think what's fascinating is you are very proactive with your career. And I think a lot of people that we have seen, especially people now stuck in quarantine, right? Like they're not so proactive. They don't know where to get started. But please talk about a few of like the interesting things that you've done. I know first and foremost, I have to like name drop. You just finished an amazing series that got a lot of great press because it was a true story, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's called the Pembrokeshire Murders, and it's a show that was set in West Wales with, do you know, the actor Luke Evans? He does a lot of work in America, so you probably come across it. He played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. You know, that guy. He's
That guy,
incredibly
Victoria.
he's incredibly handsome, and so standing next to him just makes you feel incredibly ugly. But apart from that, it was a really great experience. So yeah, it was a true story about a serial killer in West Wales many years ago that they didn't catch the first time around, and then they reopened the case in the 90s, and when forensics were better, and it's the story of that really, and it's just done well. It was the biggest rated drama to come out of ITV, which is one of the stations over here, since 2006 apparently, so in the last 15 years. So yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I mean the viewing figures were incredible for the UK, probably quite small for the US, but it's out in the US now, I believe. So
Richard, is this also a Netflix documentary series too about the serial killer? Because I just watched something, like, I've been on this kick of serial killers lately on Netflix, and I just watched one where it was a serial killer in the UK, and it took forever to catch him. I wonder if that's the same one.
I don't think so. There was a documentary shot alongside the drama, but I believe you can find them in the UK ITV hub, but I think BritBox US, I think it's out over there. So,
and what was the name of the serial killer that the show was based on?
Another one you watched.
You know the one I watched?
No, I don't. John Cooper.
John Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm going to research this while we guys are talking, because I swear to God, I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's so great because you made that. I think you were filming that right when I met you. So like right around like February, March of last year, you're filming it. And then we went right into quarantine, and then everything kind of went on pause. But like, I think it just shows you that even though things that still happened before quarantine are still being released, but during that period of time, like that lull in the UK, because it was very different. You guys have been going through a lot more open and closing than we have. You really started to kind of like stir and create things with Stack. So for those that don't know what Stack is the self-tape coaching for actors and beyond.
So Stack stands for Self-Tapes, Auditions and Coaching. It runs under the name Stack Studio, which is cool. And we do a bit of everything really. Now I'm a working class boy from the Swansea Valleys, and I've always had probably a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about how much easier it is for people who've got a bit of money behind them to get on in this industry. And so I was always really keen to set up something that was very high quality, yet affordable for people who, you know, maybe couldn't go into the center of London, into Soho, and go to one of the massive named studios. And so that's what I've tried to create here really. And I have a very sort of clear acting ethos that I've bored you with before, John.
Tell us again.
It's just, it's about keeping it simple, really. I think actors, we love to feel, and we love to create work for ourselves a lot of the time, and we love to do everyone else's jobs for them. And I just think that actually, if we simplify what we do, the performance is usually better, and we become much more efficient. And it's literally, acting to me is four things. You learn it, you believe it, you listen, and you say it. And I think that all the technique in the world that you learn at drama schools and this, that, and the other is fantastic. And if it's helpful to you, keep it. But ultimately, when you boil it all down, all that technique has just got to sit behind you somewhere. You don't think about it, and you just concentrate on those four things. Number 1 and 2 are big jobs: learning it and believing it, because that's all your research and your this, that, and the other, your visualizations and things. But listen and say it's the fun bit, and that's why we do it, right? So that's kind of where we sit with Stack. We try and get back to basics a lot of the time, and it doesn't mean we don't go in depth. It doesn't mean we don't try different things. But ultimately, as you've heard me say a million times, Jordan, the search is for the truth. And you know, the note I give more than any other is just to tell the bloody truth. You know, stop messing about, stop overthinking, stop over rehearsing, stop doing all this. And just tell the truth. Look me in the eye and tell the truth, and that's where we usually find the best work.
Richard, do you ever find it a little difficult to train musical theater actors over people that just went to straight drama school? Because I'm from musical theater, and I noticed when I went to take straight film acting, I had to unlearn a lot of stuff that they taught me in musical theater school. What's your opinion about that?
Well, I think yes and no, really.
Okay,
I think
cool.
what you tend to get, and this is generalized, and I know, what you tend to get with people who do musical theatre is you get incredible work ethic, you know, which is exciting for me, you know, because it's a lot of hard work to do less, you know.
Yeah.
And so you get that as a given, which is fantastic. In fact, I had someone in just last night who's very musical theatre and was very scared of the camera. And so getting people used to that camera it's a fun thing to do. And so you just play a few little games about, you know, sort of creating stillness and just reminding them that they don't have to hit the back wall, because I've got really good microphones. Now, people see the screen as a restrictive, people, especially if they come from a musical theatre background, they see it as a restrictive medium because they can't do as much. But actually, you can do, if the truth of the performance is a big performance, then we'll shoot it wider. And if the truth of the performance is a lot smaller, then we'll come in tighter. You know, the camera's not restrictive at all. In fact, it helps you out because you've got the options to come down and do the really small stuff, as well as do the really big stuff. The big stuff works if you shoot it properly, but you've got the option to come down for the really, really small, intimate stuff as well. So I think people should see the screen as an empowering medium and not something that stops them doing what they do, you know. The hunt is for the truth always, and once you find that, then you can shoot it accordingly. Musical theatre actors just tend to work too hard on screen, and actually I get more of a buzz seeing somebody have that epiphany of going, oh, I've just got to believe it myself when it's done, and my job here is done. And when seeing people have that epiphany is probably one of the most exciting things I get to witness really in my job. And I genuinely, when that happens, I get more of a buzz out of that than I do acting or directing, or even getting the phone call from an agent telling me I've got a part. I'd much rather see an actor sort of have that epiphany in the room. It's much more exciting to me.
See, this is why Richard's awesome. He just loves it. I think, you know, it's so eye-opening the last year how one of the things that people have said is that in times of chaos, you'll really see their true colors. And one of the things that I think resonates with all three of us is that we're very passionate about empowering other people to achieve greatness. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone feel unhinged and really get to do what they love. And I want to really go back to the point of authenticity and telling the truth, because I think for those listening, that's such a simple context that has so much weight that people forget. And you know, this podcast is called Content and Consequences because we highlight the what content creation is, what it means, how it makes people feel, and the consequences about making it. Like right now, the big consequences is quarantine, which I can't wait to stop talking about. But I think one thing that we tell people when you're making something, whether that's a self-tape, whether that's something for social media, whether that's a podcast, it's about being authentic, and that telling a real story really matters. And I think that's a lesson that translates throughout all mediums. What really was the start for you in creating Stack? Like, how did that begin?
It's sort of always something I had in the back of my head. I studied film as well, and I've also studied business. So I've got a sort of a foot in all these doors really, and I've been a theatre actor for years and years and years as well. I've even done some musicals, believe it or not. So
Sing now.
Which ones?
Over the years, I actually did a really big tour of we call them number one tours over here, where you go to all the big theatres. And it's not a unknown musical, but it was a Tom Jones the musical.
Oh my God, Tom
Jones. Can you sing It's Not Unusual? I want to personalize Richard Corgan. It's Not Unusual.
John, you need to get a few beers in for that.
Done.
Yeah. But then, yes, definitely. So the Tom Jones musical, what else have I done? I've done Into the Woods twice.
Which one? Which part?
When I was younger and better looking, I played Cinderella's Prince. And then when I got a bit more haggard, I played the narrator.
Oh, the narrator is fun. That's one of my favorite musicals, is Into the Woods.
Oh, yeah, really good.
It's a great musical.
I've directed a few as well, which is always fun. It's great directing musicals because
we can be friends, Richard. We can be friends.
Yeah, you can put your feet up, and the choreographer and the MD are working. You just put your feet up and have a think. So yeah, directing music was quite good. Yeah.
Sorry, the question was about Stack, not Into
No,
the
but
Woods,
let's bypass for a second. I just want to talk about really quickly about his directing. When I met Richard, we hung out, we had dinner, and he was telling me how he was directing in Asia. And I think that what's crazy is that you are so multifaceted. And when we're talking about empowering people with content, it's about you can do anything. Just because you're an actor doesn't mean you have to only be an actor. Just because you're a director doesn't mean you have to only be a director, and how they move and shift and help each other. Please tell everybody about all the cool projects that you've done just in general, like brief highlights. I just want people to hear that you can do so.
I don't know where to start. The problem with me is, and it's probably to my benefit really, is I get bored really easily. So whatever I'm doing, I want to do something different. Yeah. And so if I'm directing something, I want to be acting in something. If I'm acting in something, I want to be coaching someone. And if I'm coaching somebody, I want to do something else. But yeah.
I mean, I can always tell you what Wikipedia says that you've done.
No. But I don't know.
Pop quiz.
I've been quite lucky, really. I've done telly jobs, I've done film stuff, and I was on the fight team at the Royal Opera House for some time, as doing stage combat there, working with some of the best stage combat directors in the world. And I don't know how I really fell into that, really. I was athletic in those days before I did my knees in, but yeah, so I did that. That was always fun. And yeah, I've worked a lot out in Singapore, which is a real highlight. And then, like, I was recording voice work for I'm not allowed to mention it, I don't think, but a well-known British sci-fi program the other day. In here, and yeah, just loads and loads of different stuff. It's a variety, really. But I also edit video, and I also I'm doing a couple of music videos for some bands at the moment, which is kind of really cool. So I'm going out and shooting stuff for that, and then coming here and putting it to music. And yeah, and acting, it all stemmed from acting,
Mm-hmm.
And that led into everything. And it's like I'm not one of those people who says yes to something and then learns how to do it, but I'm one of those people who gets excited about something and then learns how to do it and then starts saying yes to it and pushing it. And so, yeah, I just love doing different stuff all the time.
That's such a good mantra too. Like, I think I keep saying, yeah, I think, but I really believe in the idea of sometimes you just have to just be excited about it and say yes. So many times people do not give themselves the permission to say yes. How do you kind of tackle that? Or how do you give yourself the freedom to create in all different mediums?
I just if I think I understand something, then I'll feel like I've got a voice in it, And I think it's just as simple as that, really. I read a book years and years ago. It's brilliant. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it's like a self-help book, and it's about, yeah, okay, sometimes we can get nervous and sometimes things can scare us, but that's okay, do it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? Okay, so you might screw something up or get something wrong. So what? Do it differently next time. What we have, so many actors and creatives are always in such a massive rush. We've actually got more time than we think we have, right? Mm. And so try something. If it goes wrong, try it differently next time. We've got time. Unless I'm 43. I turned 43 a couple of weeks ago. Which
happy birthday!
Thank you very much. I'll make you sing in a bit. But I turned 43, and I still feel like I've got bags of time. Mm-hmm. So I'm still really keen to learn stuff. I've just bought a sound booth. So we've got a sound studio upstairs that Adam runs. But I was like, I don't like it that somebody in my company knows more about something that I do. So I've just bought a new sound booth, and I'm learning how to do that now.
Sound booth master.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's like so. Yeah, I just think get excited and go for it. It's what the alternative is: sit down and watch Netflix for hours and hours and hours when you're doing something practical. So for me, I've always had a bit of get up and go. So yeah, so I just crack on with it. I don't know if that answers the question. I can't remember what it was.
No. I'm going to go back to it. I'm here for you. That's what I'm here for. Going back to Stack, which I think a big point in what you made with the sound booth and stuff and the constantly creating, you have been like a jack of all trades and really self-starting with resources. It's not about getting the fanciest resources. You don't have to have the crazy camera to do a lot of stuff. You're not only showing people how to and coaching them on how to do a self-tape, but you even provide them with resources. So I think for a lot of people at home who are stuck and don't know what to do and making like content, whether it's for shooting a film or doing, like, we're all stuck inside. I know that, like I said, the UK has been very shut in. And when we first talked, you guys were starting to make some stuff in-house where you are just you and your team. But you actually have a whole kit that you put together for people that's simple and easy to get started. Can you talk about that and how the fact you don't have to spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars to just try to make a video?
Well, first thing I should say is it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it doesn't. So basically,
$1 million.
$1 million. So basically, what was happening was when I was going away to work or filming or whatever, and I'd be in hotel rooms, dark, dimly lit hotel rooms usually. It was always then that my agent would call me up and go, "See, we've got to tape for this big new series or for this big movie or whatever," and I'd be like, oh, "Damn it, the light here's terrible. You know, I've just got my phone." So I thought, right, I know what I'm doing with regards to self tapes because I've shot over 5,000 of them for other people. I thought, how can I make a mini kit for myself? So I got an old wash bag, cleaned the toothpaste out from inside it, and thought, well, how can I fit a kit into here? So I did. I put together some mini bits of equipment and put it all in a wash bag. And then when I was going away, I was grabbing that, throwing it in my suitcase, and off I went. And then suddenly I was able to make, you know, not as good as in the studio, obviously, but I was able to make very decent looking tapes while I was away. But of course, the one thing you can't throw in a wash bag is another actor. So so when I was going away and I was asking other actors to read with me when I was doing these tapes, they were just in awe of this kit that I put together. And they were like, can you make one for me? Can you make one for me? So I made one for a load of friends. And then I was like, I should put these out there, you know. So so that's what I started doing. So I put together the self-tape travel pack, which is a mini studio that fits into a wash bag. And it looks great. And I'm really proud of it. And it's going for £150. I don't know what that does in dollars. It goes for £150 and we ship worldwide. And it's really cool, but I'm also now making a deluxe version, which is even better. So yeah, but I love it, you know, and I've kept the price down. I don't make a lot of money off it, but I just love the fact that they're out there.
What's in this kit, out of curiosity?
So in this kit, have I got one near me? No. There's a backdrop, a grey backdrop. There's lots of fittings for that backdrop. So say you're in a hotel room and you need to put up this backdrop, you could bulldog clip it between two lamps, you could magnet it to your mirror, you could stick it up with some Velcro patches, so there's loads of different ways of hanging this backdrop, because that's, you know, the tricky thing when you're away. There's a beautiful sort of frame to hold your phone, and on top of that frame fits two amazing LED lights, which you can diffuse and turn up and down depending on how bright you want it. What else is in there? There's a booklet that I wrote on editing and framing and file size and sound and all these different things that's in there. What else is in there? There's tripods, there's mini tripods. This is an old one that's not complete. Yeah, there's mini tripods to put all your gear on. There's a holder to put your phone in. There's all sorts, batteries, magnets, everything. Oh, and I've just gone really soft focus for some reason. I don't know why. It's got all romantic. But yeah, so there's
set the mood. That's what we're doing now. We're setting the mood. By the way, for everyone listening, it's $206.
Oh wow, good work.
What's your opinion about all these new like iPhone accessories that have come out? Like there's now mics that you can plug into your iPhone. There's of course ring lights, and there's of course like these little stands and stuff like that.
I'd say some of them are pretty good. Yeah. Some of them, they're pretty good. So you know, each to their own. The reason we put this together is because a lot of people don't know what they're shopping for.
Yeah.
And so we put this together, and it's not the most expensive kit in the world, because if it was, we'd have to charge an absolute fortune for it. But it's really handy for you to throw in your suitcase when you're nipping away, or you're going to visit your folks, or whatever, or just keep it in the boot of your car, or the trunk of your car, as you call it, right? It's just a handy thing to have, and I find it great. So they've been keeping me busy, and it keeps me during lockdown when there's not a lot to do. I always find something to do, as you know. It's me looking at it and going, how can I improve that? Can I make a deluxe version? What can I do about this now?
So the VIP super duper extra edition.
Exactly. Yeah, and but yeah, it's really cool. I'm really proud of it, and my wonderful assistant makes them look nice because I'm terrible at that. So she wraps things up nicely and puts bows on them and stickers and things, and yeah, it's great. Cool.
And then you make people hashtag and tag you once they get it and give you shout outs on Instagram, right?
Oh, we're gonna be dropping all his socials soon because he hates social media.
It's not that I hate social media. It's just that I just always feel like I got better things to do. But I'm just not very good at it. I'm not very good at talking about myself, to be honest with you. You know this. Like the stuff went out for Mandy today, and I was mortified that they put my name on it. I just wanted to be Stack Studio. But I know I've got to get over that. I do have to get over that. But yeah, it's cool.
No, I think it's so cool. You just said though that like, oh, I hate social media. I just don't like doing it. And I think for a lot of people out there who are like, oh my God, I have to be on social media. You're someone who is successful without constantly putting yourself on social media. Granted, you do stuff for Stack, which is awesome. Everyone should check it out. We're gonna totally drop all the usernames at the end of this, but for you, it's so great to just see that you're so passionate about creating that the work that you put out there speaks for itself. And I think a lot of people are so wrapped up in where it's going versus what they're trying to share that they forget the real reason why they're making stuff to begin with.
Well, I mean, a really good example of that is I worked with for years and good friends with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's amazing. We've spoken about that before, John. And she's not on any social media. She never has been. I think she was on Facebook briefly, like in the early noughties, but hated it and left it completely. And what I've always loved about Phoebe's approach to the industry is she's her own artist. She does what she does, and the world catches up. And there's so much power in that. I think we all think as artists and as creatives, you've got to bend what we do and manipulate what we do to fit into other people's ideas and projects. And I encourage people not to do that. I say, be your own artist, do what you do. And if the project fits with that, great, then you should do it. And if the project doesn't fit with that, then why would you want to do it anyway? Because you're compromising yourself as an artist, And I think so we all want to bend and manipulate ourselves into other people's ideas, and I don't think that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got to identify ourselves as artists and push that and market that, and then we'll inevitably work more and work better, I think.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. One question that I really want to ask you, that I ask everyone who comes on the podcast, because I think it resonates with what you just said, is that how do you define your responsibility as a creative? And in today's times and current climate, why do you feel that content creation and creative artists' voices have the power to incite change?
That's a huge question. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It's very, very heavy. I'm throwing the big guns out now.
Yeah. So say it to me again. Say it again.
So I'm going to start with, this is the basic question. Why do you feel that content creation has the power to incite change in today's times and current climate?
Well, I think there's the power to incite a lot of things, not just change. I think it's incredibly powerful. Now, like, I'm in this tiny little bubble of a generation, I'm told. I forget what it's called now. That
Gen X?
No, I know there's another little bubble of us who grew up without the internet and built tree houses and didn't sit in front of screens and went fishing and all those things. But then we're still young enough to get on board with the internet when it came out, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm from this sort of era where the internet's cool, but I can take it or leave it, right? which is kind of healthy. I think it's a healthy place to be. I wasn't brought up on it. I wasn't spoon-fed with it. It wasn't my nanny when I was growing up, right? So I think for me, I can step back from it and observe it. Whereas I think a lot of people younger than me, and not much younger than me, who didn't have that privilege of growing up without it, really, of being a kid without the internet. It's kind of, they're kind of in it. They've been in it as long as they remember the world. But I'm privileged to be able to step back from it and see that opinion is great, but responsibility for that opinion is not always taken too seriously. And so I think it does have huge power for change, but it also has a huge power for damage. And that scares me a little bit. And I think expressing your opinion is fantastic. But I think what saddens me looking at it all from the outside is sometimes opinion can be hurtful and scary and all these different things. Like, for example, there's a lot of people talking about vaccines, whether they're good, they're bad, and whatever people's opinions are on that, and everyone's entitled to their opinion on that. But I think opinions expressed in the wrong way with no filters can cause division. And that's exactly what, as an example, what that has done. And I think you're seeing it in politics, certainly here, and certainly I know in the US, that opinions expressed without thought can cause huge division, and I find that pretty scary. I know I'm probably going slightly away from the answer you wanted to get.
No, I think it's important to share all voices. One big reality is that when we create stuff, whether it's in a theater or on the street or in your garage or on TV or in your computer, whatever, I think people really need to understand the power and weight of what you're putting out there and what you want people to feel when you're doing that, good or bad. But feeling, I think, is an important thing.
Well, exactly, and that's what it all comes down to. People can express their feelings. Now, like when I was a kid, if you wanted to express your opinion publicly, you had to go somewhere and stand on a stage and say it. You know, whereas you don't have to do that now. You can just go, I'm feeling grumpy, here's a tweet. You know, or here's an Instagram post telling everybody they're wrong. And I don't know. I just feel you used to have to stop and think, and you don't anymore. You know, and so my big thing about all this is I just want people to stop and think a bit more before they put stuff out there. Now to bring this back to what we do, stopping and thinking about what you're putting out there before you put it out there is so important. I know incredible actors who during lockdown created in a rush because they just needed to be out there stuff that shouldn't have been out there and didn't paint them in a good light. And there's probably not that their career is very much good at all. Now, it's all very well being prolific and creating a lot of content, but if it doesn't represent you in the best way, why would you want it out there? You know, and that's what I can't understand. And so coming back from what I was saying about opinions and political ideas and this, that, and the other, it's the same for artists. If you're just throwing loads of content out there and you're not at your best and someone sees that, that's what they'll think you are. So I would encourage people to yes, make content. Yes, put it out there. Yes, write shows. Yes, do podcasts. Yes, do online plays. Do it all. Please do. But make sure it's your best work before the public sees it. Because otherwise you're painting a poor picture of yourself. And I think when people there's one actor, but I'm not going to mention any names. There's one actor I know in particular. She's amazing. I've directed her a couple of times. And all the way through this year, weekly, she's put out a new monologue that she's written. And it's not very good. And it's really sad because I know she's amazing, you know, and it breaks my heart because there's a lot of people going to be seeing that who are going to think that that's the limit of her abilities. And it makes me incredibly sad because she's awesome. And I want to say to her, mate, just rein it in, write something awesome. And instead of putting out one a week, put out one a month, one every 3 months. That's your best work. And that is how you're going to build your career. You know, you're not going to build your career by putting out 20-week videos. You're going to build your career by putting out 2 great ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think actually that keeps you busier than putting out 1 a week because of the quality control.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I tried a couple years ago when I was just trying to get used to making stuff and challenging myself. I did a monologue challenge and I did 20. I was going to do 30 monologues in 30 days. I ended up doing 21. And you know what? It wasn't my best work and it became a chore. And the lesson I learned from that is that it goes back to what you said earlier, tell the truth, be authentic. And a lot of us have felt the pressure, or a lot of people in our peer group, I think on all over the world, have felt the pressure of right now we have all this time, so we should be doing all these things. But like you just mentioned, do it. You have the time to do it right. You don't have to do it like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but put your best foot forward. And I
You don't
think,
have to be in such a rush all the time.
yeah, I think that's a lesson like
But
around the globe.
we've been conditioned to think like that, artists. We've been conditioned because I don't have to sing in the US, but in theatre over here, when I first came into the industry, you'd have 5, 6, 7 weeks to rehearse a play. And then now you're lucky if you get 3, but they expect the same quality.
Yeah.
And so we're used to working fast. We're used to working as fast as we can. And sometimes shows open before we're ready, really, honestly. And then we play catch up for a few nights and we call them previews as an excuse, right? And the reason that's happening is because money's gone from the industry. But as artists, we're conditioned to work hard. We're conditioned to work fast. But sometimes we sacrifice truth in that because we haven't got time. We sacrifice sitting back and being critical of it because we haven't got time. And it's perfectly understandable, but because that's what we've been conditioned to do as artists, then we end up doing that when we're in a lockdown situation. We panic and we throw out a load of material that probably shouldn't be out there. And I just think we owe it to ourselves. We work hard. It's a tough industry. We owe it ourselves to be seen at our best. We owe it to ourselves to put out our best work, not the most work. You know.
I believe creativity and panic has been a real thing. Like we're all just like, no jobs are coming, so we need to be making jobs. To people out there that are dealing with this, if I'm not doing something, then I'm not relevant at the moment, or my career is at a huge standstill. How would you reframe that for somebody, or how would you personally pivot?
Okay, I'd say something like this. Big Hollywood movie stars might do 1, maybe 2 movies a year. Yeah, and they're doing all right. And they're trying to put out their best work. They're not doing 20 movies a year to be seen. They're doing good work and people remember it. So when you have to wait 10 months to see the next thing, that's okay. Because the last thing was good. You know, and I think it should be, we should all think like the movie stars, right? Put something out that's really, really good, and then wait till you've got something really, really good again to put that out. Because if the first thing you put out was really, really good, people will remember it. And so when the next thing comes out, they're more likely to click on it, you know, rather than trying to put one out every week.
Yeah, last year when I was hungry, looking for content, looking for something to be inspired by, because I myself was just me and Victoria. I quarantined with Victoria on her couch for a significant period of time. And we wanted to make you watched my Instagram. I'm so proud. See, you do go on Instagram.
I mean, really the only thing we did is I made her do silly music videos, because that's how I deal with panic. Is I was like, I'm going to sing about it and I'm going to make commentary.
But to that, what we did is we did something fun, and we wanted to make something that was fun and that was true to us. And we worked really hard on doing it the right way. And it was just the two of us with my computer, a pair of headphones, and we shot it in her apartment because we weren't really allowed to go outside. But what we did, I think we were proud of. As silly as it was, it showed us in a light to showcase that we're fun and we're hilarious. We weren't trying to disrupt or change the way people thought about us. And same with you. I know, because Stack, obviously there wasn't any self-tapes because there wasn't a lot of filming at the moment. I mean, people were still trying to audition, obviously, or make stuff. But one thing I was so inspired by was that piece that I saw that you did last year when you recorded, I forget his name, but the Iago piece that you did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's Adam who runs the voice stuff for Stack. Basically, it was for the Barn Theatre, and yeah, it was some online work that they were doing, and they asked if we'd put something together, and so I said to Adam, look, what, fancy doing a bit of Iago? And he was like, yeah, great. And I'm a Shakespeare nerd, so I'm a nerd about a lot of things, but when it comes to Shakespeare, I'm an absolute nerd. And I just thought, well, I think he's talking to himself, you know, in that big soliloquy he has. And so I thought, well, how can we make that work? And so we just happened to have 3 very tall mirrors in the studio. And so I said, well, if he's sat there in his dressing gown in a lockdown situation, he's talking to himself about how he's going to manipulate the world. And then we cut to behind him and we see the impression that he gets of himself in the mirror, and he's all suited and booted. And we just shot it. I just shot it really dark and dismal, and with some sort of, yeah, real sort of growly music underneath and things like that. And it was just really atmospheric. And yeah, so it went down really, really well. And genuinely, Adam learned it in like a day. I had an idea of what I wanted to shoot in it, how I wanted to shoot it. And we shot it in like, I don't know, a couple of hours. And then it took me about half an hour to edit it. And it was, so yeah, we churned that out real quick, but we had a really clear idea of what we wanted to do. And it was Iago in lockdown, you know, and yeah, it went down really well. Yeah.
One thing that we saw a lot last year was people trying to convince people that they weren't on lockdown or that they weren't on Zoom. And every time I've seen that, like when people do the Zoom stuff and they have the fake background, it drives me crazy, and they're trying to convince you they're not on Zoom. I really enjoyed that piece because it took something that people could relate to and put it in a modern setting that we can all then connect to in a modern way. Aside from that, like being real and being honest about your situation and doing something that you're proud of, what are some other kind of or faux pas that you see that you think that should change in terms of when you're creating something? Like, so we have be authentic and truthful. Don't put crap work out there. I think that's a blanket statement. But what other things do you see that you wish you could tell somebody and be like, you don't need to do that, or you don't need to work that hard, or you shouldn't be doing that? All hard questions.
Yeah.
Eyebrow acting.
Oh yeah, eyebrow acting.
Eyebrow acting, yeah. I think I don't know, what can I say for this? What mistakes do I see a lot of? Do you mean when people are putting out bits of acting?
Well, not even just bits of acting. I think obviously with acting. So let's make something even more simple. When it comes to self-tapes, what are things that you see that are the first things people do when they assume about self-tapes? Because I think self-tapes are really very much a litmus test in general about when people feel like there's a camera looking at them, directly at them, and they have this big idea of what it is.
So one of the biggest mistakes is the light being behind you, pretty much like you got now at the moment, John. So you got the window behind you. Keep the light in front of you. It's going to look 10 times better. So always keep the light in front of you. And that goes for anything you're shooting, really, or any photograph you're taking, keep the light in front of you. So that would be the thing I noticed straight away, you know. Number 2 is the busyness of the background. He says not quite making his screen work today. But how busy it is behind you can be quite distracting in terms of self-tapes. And also people who play so far off camera to the other person. And so we've almost got them in profile. Try and keep the person you're reading with as near camera as possible, and it becomes stronger to look at. Yeah, the sort of basic tips I'd say, and the other thing is keep your camera eye level. That's always a really good thing. Slightly above, sometimes depends on what you're shooting, but keep your camera eye level so that, you know, a lot of people will shoot and it's there and the camera's there and you just see in the top of their head. I would never do that because I'm thinning a bit back here. So, but yeah, so I don't know what you're doing, Victoria, but I'm liking it.
She's just practicing. For those that can't see, we're just practicing all the things.
Yeah, but I think just in general, the stuff that I never get angry about stuff. I never get annoyed about stuff, things like that. But I just always feel, you know, I'm like Jordan. I love seeing actors progress, and I really don't like it when I see people put things out that's actually making them take a step backwards. And I wanna grab them and shake them and go, look, be kinder to yourself than that, because you've always obviously put a lot of work into this very, very quickly. If you put a lot of work into this a bit slower, you might have had something, you know. But the problem is everybody's seen you rush it out there, and it's not your best work. But that's the level people think you're at now. So the next thing you ever put out, you've got to make it amazing. So people remember that and not the one that you shouldn't have put out. You know, we don't always need to be seen. We don't always need to be seen to be a good artist. You know, it's good to be invisible sometimes. Leave them wanting more than getting too much. It's much better.
Those are all great lessons. I'm going to be recording myself and being like, how's my head? Do you see the top of my head? So for somebody who has never made something for themselves before and feels that pressure, or just to create in general, like whether it's writing a piece, because you've written stuff, you've obviously acted in things, you've filmed things, you've directed things. What is the biggest advice you can give about just getting started? How would you just get started? I know what I would say, but I want to hear what you would say.
It's really simple. It's really simple. Just do it. Stop procrastinating. Stop procrastinating. Stop tidying up because you're thinking about doing it and not doing it. Stop, you know, doing all the stuff that you're using to take your mind off it, and just do it. What's the worst that can happen? You know, especially if it's writing, give it a go. I've written stuff. I've written stuff that's gone. I'm not a writer, really, genuinely, I'm not. It takes a lot of hard work, and I've never written anything on my own. I've always worked with a brilliant Canadian artist called Hayley McGee. She's amazing. Look her up. But me and Hayley work together, and she's brilliant at telling me when I'm crap, which I often am. And I'm good at she's very rarely crap, so it doesn't work so well the other way. But what's we're really good at, because I'm not a writer, she is, but what we're really good at is sitting opposite each other and just ad-libbing and just, you know, sort of improv, doing some improv and then writing it down. You know, that's the way we go about it. And I don't think I could do it any other way. Now, I only found that way. Sorry, wrong camera. Hi. I only found that way of doing it by trying it 10 other ways, you know. So yeah, just give it a go. Just give it a go. So what's to happen, you know. If you're not sure that it's awesome, don't put it out there. But you can get your mates to read it, see what they think, you know, tell them to be honest. And then if you find that you're a writer, great, right. If you find that you're not, pick up a camera, see what happens, you know, do something else. Yeah, buy some lights, learn to edit, yeah, whatever you want to do. But all these skills, they all sort of lend themselves to each other. When I started Stack, I had an attic and I had a camera and I had a backdrop, and I was like, I'm going to help people make better self-tapes because they're all rubbish. So when I was casting Stack, you were getting some awful self-tapes in. I was like, I want people to be able to do it better and be able to afford to do it. And it was as simple as that. And then a friend of mine designed me a logo, and I was like, oh, right, okay, so I've started a business, right? And then I started adding in all this other stuff that I do. And just go with the flow. If you fancy doing something, give it a go. And if it's crap, so what?
I know that if I ever get the pleasure to audition for you, I'm going to light behind me. I'm going to show the top of my head, and I'm going to just record it really awkwardly and get really close to the camera.
Imagine the pressure I'll be under if I have to audition.
I'm like, who is this person? What am I doing? So before we wrap up, unfortunately, I could talk to you forever because I miss you dearly. Is you made a really strong point about go find your mates, your friends. Victoria and I are friends. We are co-producers. We riff off each other, and Richard, you and I are friends. We riff off each other. We get to talk about great things. I think community is everything, and that's something that's been really impactful during this crazy time. And Stack is a beautiful community. So for everyone out there who wants to find out more, please tell where they can find you and Stack. And I know Richard will be hiding under a rock. You won't be able to find him, but you can find all about Stack and go check out his Wikipedia page.
Oh, I found him. I found him on Wikipedia. I found him on Instagram. He can be found.
All right. Okay. Well, I don't know why you'd want to find me, but anyway, you can find Stack Studio on Twitter. So just look for Stack Studio. We're there, right? So on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you can go to the website www.stackstudio.com. I nearly forgot what it was. It's pretty
STAC.
STAC. Yes. Yeah. Should have said that. STAC. Stackstudio.com. So we're on there. Where else are we? Yeah, if you are a member of Mandy, we're going to be on there, I think, as of tomorrow. So you can find us in loads of places, or you can just drop us an email, and usually they'll actually come straight through to me. So yeah, I think
That's how you get a hold of Richard. You email him.
yeah, but you can find me on the old Insta as well. It's not hard. You just Google my name, right? And
I also found him on LinkedIn.
Yep. No, he knows my feelings at LinkedIn.
I gave it a whirl for a few.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud.
I don't think I've opened it in months, but anyway, it's there. But yeah, it's cool. So yeah, get in touch. I think a lot of what we do here at Stack, and this sounds really pretentious, but it's not meant to. A lot of what we do genuinely is like therapy. A lot of actors come to us when they've just sort of hit a brick wall, or don't know where to go next, or just need a bit of help, or just need a kickstart. And I'm so passionate about that. I hate seeing talent go to waste. And and if we can help at all, I'm always up for a chat. So genuinely, if anybody wants to ask a question, have a chat, whatever, just drops a DM, and if 9 times out of 10 it's me getting back to you. And if it's not, it's someone
I can
else.
vouch for that.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you so much. You are such an inspiring person. I'm so happy to have you on this podcast.
And before we go, I just want you to know you've been anticipating that whole serial killer thing that I said that I watched. I found that too. It's The Ripper. It's the Yorkshire Ripper, Peter Sutcliffe.
Right.
That's
It wasn't the Yorkshire Ripper. It was another one. It's called the Pembrokeshire Murders. Give it a look. It's not really bad. It's a good show. Yeah.
He has some really great behind the scenes photos for everyone who's going to go stalk Richard on his social media. He's got some great behind the scenes photos.
Just wanted to throw that. I know that I just wanted to circle that back because I had mentioned it before. Good. I delivered for you guys. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
We had fun doing that. So there are some cracking pics up there. Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you everybody for listening again to Content and Consequences. This is your host, Jordan Elizabeth Gelber, and we will see you next time.